And after a couple of months off, as we get ready to head into the silly season of women's professional wrestling, it's time to ramp up podcast production, Lee.
Yeah, it's been one of those things that we had a bit of a summer break. We still pasty, and now we're back to talk more about wrestling.
Yeah, I got no sun.
No, I got no sun either. I sat indoors watching DVDs.
Yeah, that's what we do. We do it sometimes so you don't have to. But no, it is coming up now to female fight season, open female fight season, which is kind of the loose sort of, I don't know what you would really call it, a loose sort of gathering of promotions from around the world who are all going to be running shows during the month of October. There's going to be shows from Bellatrix, AIW, Shimmer, Shine, WSU, Femme Fatale, all within the space of about, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's very, very packed, but almost the prelude to female fight season starts next weekend with the follow-on from what we called the card of the half year.
Yes, and that's going to be the next edition of ICW Fierce Females. It's in our DNA. And that's going to be headlined with an ICW Fierce Females Championship match with Kaylee Ray defending her championship against Viper and Amazing Kong. And we are going to be talking to Kaylee Ray coming up later on the show about that, about her career to date, about heading to Japan, about injuries, about all sorts. And that's going to be in our main sort of interview segment coming up.
Before that, though, a little bit of a chat about what's going on in the world of female professional wrestling, because we discuss it on the site, but seeing as you're here, for anybody who's listening to you and to us just on iTunes, you're probably missing a little bit of that unless you're going to the site. So, there's been a TV show called Total Divas going on.
Oh God, yes, there has. I've been writing about this in the roundup every week, and it's fair to say I've got a love-hate relationship with the show in that I've enjoyed a couple of weeks, but mostly I hate it. It's reality TV. It's cheap television to produce with fake drama with non-actors. It's interesting to a certain extent because you kind of get a little bit of a look behind the curtain of WWE, and it's not something you usually get to see. But there are so many bits of the show that are clearly manipulated, clearly designed, clearly planned, storylines that are written for the show that, you really got to have your bullshit detector turned on just to try and pick out the real stuff and the fake stuff.
The funny thing is, as far as Total Divas Season 1 was concerned, it was kind of a microcosm in itself and didn't really impede on what was happening on WWE TV. But because there's been this extension that's taking place, that's being filmed at the moment and is going to be shown later on this year, it's kind of bled through into what's happening in the Divas division. And that's led us to this Night of Champions match that we've got coming up on Sunday, which is a four-way, AJ Lee defending the belt against Naomi, Brie Bella and Natalya.
Yes.
It's fairly likely that AJ's going to lose the title, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's probably likely, and I think that'll be the finale of season 1A of Total Divas. I mean, the first half of the season ends with the story of the wedding of Natalya and her longtime boyfriend TJ Wilson, and I guess the second part of the season is going to be based around AJ cutting a promo and then one of the Total Divas cast winning the championship at Night of Champions, and that will be the happy ending for the season. The question is, though, which one?
Where's your money? I want to ask you first, because I put it in the roundup that there's any of the three of the challengers is likely to win it for various reasons. But I mean, where's your money?
Well, you said that you thought that the three people who were in the match with AJ were the three people who were portrayed best on the show? Or?
Yeah, they were the ones who came out, I thought, most likeable.
Yeah, the likeable ones. Like, I guess Brie's the more likeable of the two Bella twins, and And certainly, I mean, I know some people like Brian Alvarez over on Wrestling Observer have got a big, massive man crush on Ariane at the minute. But to me, Trinity, aka Naomi, she's the one that comes out as the likable one at the Funkadactyls, and Natalia, I guess, is like she's kind of had the ugly duckling storyline or something like that. I don't know. It's a bit weird. I think I'd like to put my money on Naomi. I don't think she's the best wrestler in the world. She is very athletic. She is likable. She comes across well on the show. Comes across as the most real of the main cast members of the show. Comes across as the most likable. I could imagine spending time with Naomi and enjoying it, whereas I couldn't imagine spending more than 20 minutes with Cameron without wanting to, leave the room for my own sanity. So I'm going to go with her. I don't think Natalia will win it because, frankly, she's been there for a long time, and WWE have never seen any great need to push her to any great level. In fact, they seem to take great pride and pleasure in humiliating Natalia more often than not. So I kind of think having her getting the mid-season happy ending with the wedding and getting the full season happy ending with winning the championship is unlikely. I think Brie Bella winning the championship could happen, but I just don't see that really, unless they're going to do some sort of thing with Nikki Bella getting jealous of her sister's success because, her career might be over after her stress fracture. Who knows? But I reckon Naomi will pick up the championship.
I wish I could be argumentative with you just to have a sort of counterpoint, but I'm kind of with you on it. I mean, if Natalia hadn't had the wedding, then I'd say, yeah, it's probably going to be her, even if she only holds it for, like, I don't know, a day or whatever.
Yeah, she might. That's the thing. She may well. It may well be a case of whoever wins this holds it for a day, holds it for a week, maybe holds it for a month. It may not be a big changing of the guard, but for one night only, it'll be a happy ending for one of the girls.
But I think that, like you said, Naomi is she's quite exciting to watch in the ring. She's very athletic. She's very gymnastic. Not necessarily the best all-round wrestler in the world, but she has her moments. Keep it short, keep it simple. I'm sure we're going to have a few exciting matches come out of it. And quite frankly, I think it might be what the division needs. Yeah,
a new name, a new champion. We'll see what happens. So Night of Champions is coming up. Let's talk briefly, for those of you who don't know about what's coming up with fight season, let's just run over quickly the shows that are coming up during the month of October that people need to look out for, the shows that contribute to this fight season. Kicks off on October 6th with shows in both the UK and the US. In the UK, we've got Bellatrix 7 in Norwich. It's going to be the much-touted Bellatrix versus Shimmer show. And there's going to be Saraya Knight versus cheerleader Melissa on that show. Holy crap, you want to be there for that one. We've also got Courtney Rush defending her Bellatrix World Championship for the first time in the UK against Liberty. You've also got matches involving Mercedes Martinez. She defends the Femme Fatale Championship against Miss Mina. Lufisto is going to be making her UK debut against Destiny. And Christina Von Eerie will be taking on Scarlett.
October 6th also has Absolute Intense Wrestling's Girls' Night Out 9 and 10 tapings. Two separate shows, all on the same night. The Girls' Night Out 10 main event will be Alison Kay defending the AIW Women's Championship against Veda Scott. Also announced for that yesterday is Santana Garrett against Kimberly. But before that, on Girls' Night Out 9, you've got Salisha Sparks against Taylor Hendricks. You've got Kimberly versus Nikki Storm, who'll be making her US debut. And then you're going to have a Dream Partners match with Alison Kay and her Dream Partner against Veda Scott and her Dream Partner.
Yes, I like all of this AIW Girls' Night Out stuff. I'm really looking forward to those shows. I can't wait to get my hands on those. Those look really, really good. Also going to have WSU coming up in Voorhees, New Jersey again, October 12th, the following weekend, as we have Jessica Havoc defending the WSU World Championship against Lexus. That girl Nikki Storm turns up again. She's going to be taking on Jenny Rose this time. And in a big sort of, I guess, we can call it a one-off dream match, two of the most crazy women in professional wrestling, Saraya Knight and Mickey Knuckles, are going to go one-on-one.
Following that, we have October 19th and 20th. We have the Shimmer Women Athletes Volumes 58 to 61 tapings. Quite a few names have been announced for this so far, so let's give you the ones that have been announced. You've got the champions. You've got Cheerleading Melissa, singles champion. You've got tag champions, Kelly Skater and Tomoko Nakagawa, Global Green Gangsters. You've got Madison Eagles. You've got Kana. You've got Nikki Storm, who's showing up again. You've got Ayako Hamada has also been announced as being there. So the names are starting to pile up for Shimmer, and there'll be more announced in the coming weeks.
Jessica Havoc as well?
Yes, I forgot about Jessica Havoc. Sorry, Jess.
And there's been an announcement just in the last day as well. It's there's going to be an AAW. Well, there's always an AAW show the weekend of Shimmer, and there's going to be some women on that show as well. And they've announced that Jessica Havoc will be on that show, making her AAW debut, along with Mischief, and they've also announced Miss Natural and Heidi Lovelace. So,
and Shimmer's... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, they're not officially announced yet for Shimmer, but we can probably put two and two together with those ones.
Shimmer's also said that there's going to be an announcement of another Joshi taking place next week, and it's going to be a debut, so keep your eyes out for that.
Yes. And then the full weekend, we have NCW Femme Fatale in Montreal. It's going to be Femme Fatale 13. Saraya Knight and Mercedes Martinez are going to be tagging up in the main event against Lufisto and Sweet Cherry. Cheerleader Melissa and Courtney Rush will have a rematch from their Femme Fatale show during the summer, as they have again try and determine who's the number one contender for Mercedes Martinez Championship. We've got a whole bunch of support matches on there as well, including the latest attempt to manage to put together Pink Flash Kira versus Portia Perez.
Which is a lumberjack match, and there's also something else in there as well. Aren't they strapped together?
It's a lumberjack strap match, isn't it? So they're going to be strapped together, and they've got lumberjacks around, or lumberjills around the ring as well.
So nowhere for Portia to run, you would imagine.
She's either got to tunnel her way out, or she's got to try and get airlifted out the building.
Which is going to be very interesting. Also dotted in between all that are these other shows which have women's matches involved on the card, but aren't necessarily all women's shows. For example, Preston City Wrestling in the UK has April Davids versus Lufisto. Remix Pro Wrestling has Maria Kanellis versus Sassy Steffi. Galaxy Pro Wrestling on October 13th has Heidi Lovelace versus Angela Slane. There's a lot going on around that time, so just keep an eye out.
It's also a Shine show to fit in there as well. Date of that's not officially been released yet, but it should be released shortly. So, with fight season almost being upon us, we're going to look to try and ramp up our podcast output over the next month as well. God help you people out there, if you're fans of women's wrestling, you're going to be inundated with stuff in the next month.
Keep your schedules empty and your wallets full.
That's one way to put it, yeah. But before we get to that, like you say, we've got the little prelude to fight season with Fierce Females. And with that, let's change the music and let's bring out Kaylee Ray. It's guest time on the Women of Wrestling podcast, and we are very pleased to welcome a champion in our midst, the ICW Fierce Females champion, to be precise. Kaylee Ray is here. Kaylee, welcome.
Hello. Hi, guys. How are you?
Wow, for a hardcore woman, that was a very low-key hi.
No, I'm a bit shy, so I'm working myself in slowly.
All right, well, we'll get you screaming by the end of the show then.
Yeah.
we wanted to talk to you because, millions of reasons, but specifically the fact that on the 22nd of September, just coming up now, the Classic Grand in Glasgow, ICW Fierce Females is back. And you are going to be defending the championship that you won at the last Fierce Females show. And you're going to be defending, well, originally it was announced against Viper, and it's now going to be a three-way with Viper and Amazing Kong.
Uh-huh.
How excited or worried are you?
Oh, I think it's just like 50-50 with both. It's going to be amazing to be in the ring with Awesome Kong and Viper, because I respect both of them so much, but at the same time worried because it's a big challenge and an even bigger challenge next to it. So just hopefully I walk out the building with the Fierce Females title. Fingers crossed.
How worried do you get before matches? Like, what sort of do you still get nervous? Do you still have sort of the jitters before a big match?
Oh, of course. I think every match I get the jitters, and I've always thought, and if you're not getting that feeling before you go out in front of a crowd or go out and perform, then you're kind of doing it for nothing. That's what keeps us going, like getting that rush just before you go out and that kind of thing. It's, yeah.
You see, that's kind of fascinating to me, because we talked to you after the show, on the last Fierce Female show, and any time I've talked to you before, you come across as utterly fearless in the ring. And I mean, if anyone's seen you, obviously at the last Fierce Female show, you jumped off a balcony, you do all sorts of crazy things. But I'm just curious to see. So you're still nervous when you go out there, even though you've got all these, big moments in your head of what you're going to do later on.
Yeah, and most of the time, like, you can trust your opponent, you're going in there and you're going to be safe, but there's still always that feeling something can go wrong. Like just at Edinburgh Studio 24, when it was the intergender tag team death match, myself and Jester versus Mikey Whiplash and Carmel, the power bomb into the wall. I think most people have seen it, but that was never meant to go the way it went. It's one of these
glad
things.
To hear that.
It's like somebody said, this is exactly what I wanted to happen.
8 foot into a wall. No, that was never the plan. Some people think we actually did want to go ahead with that. It was security, basically. Just like there was a group of security, but my worry was mainly that Mikey Whiplash wouldn't be able to push me enough to get me over the barriers and the ropes. So I didn't think he'd clear a couple of foot. So I said to him, like, please just really, really push me off and I'll post. And it was like, right, okay, we'll make it over the ropes and that will get you into the thingy. But I think we both underestimated just how strong Mikey is. And with the combination of him throwing me and me pushing myself off, I just flew over the security guard and into the wall. I did manage to save myself, and it sounds funny, but grab onto the wall. A lot of the footage looks as if it was my head and my neck that bounced, yes. But it wasn't. It was actually my leg that hit the wall, and for about a week after it, my leg was numb. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't go to work, couldn't do anything, just had to stay in bed. But as I said before, a lot of people think that we planned it that way. That was just an accident. And for anybody that's ever been in a wrestling match, they'll know accidents happen. So, and anybody that would like to challenge me in that can go ahead. But as I said before, accidents do happen, and that was just an accident.
That must be one of the most terrifying things that I've seen, though. I mean, it does throw me.
Flying through the air.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. This is the thing. Are you just thinking as you fly through the air, yeah, I'm going further than I thought? I mean, how do you get in that moment where you think, I've just cleared security? What am I going to do to protect myself?
I think that was a grab. I seen the wall coming almost and just tried to grab onto it. Is something to kind of, because I didn't want to fall, but as soon as I grabbed onto it, obviously I bounced off it. But I don't know what happened, but I've always been taught, like, when you're taking a power bomb, you don't look back. Yeah. But I looked back. I had to look back. It was just that moment, and I do think if I hadn't looked back, I wouldn't have turned, and I'd have hit it with my head and my neck. So I think that kind of saved me a bit.
Probably saved your life.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But it was just, I can remember hitting the ground and just hearing that silence. And it's the only time I've ever seen Carmel break character in a wrestling match. She ran over to me and just grabbed me and went, please tell me you're alive. And I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest. I was still lying and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And she literally just kissed my face. She kissed my forehead. She kissed my cheeks. And then just went, I need to go. It's my spot, and ran away again. It's the only time Carmel has ever broke. So after she done that, I kind of realised that must have been bad. But as I said, it was an accident. And at the end of the day, it made great footage. So...
Wow. That's true, I suppose. It does kind of put into perspective other things that you've done which might look a little bit crazy. For example, we did mention the balcony dive that you did at Luke Hujida as well. And I guess in comparison, that must be relatively simple, I suppose. And I'm hastening to say simple because it's still a massive dive and a massive risk.
Oh, yeah. It was, yeah, but it's hard to explain because you can say you're going to do it as much as you can, but it's that moment when you're standing there and there's no part of me that would go up there and go in front of all those people, I can't do this, and climb back down. I couldn't do it. My pride would get the better of me. I'd need to just go for it because I couldn't deal with people going, oh, you just shout out that you didn't want to do that. So you froze, exactly. So just take a deep breath and do what you need to do what you've got planned.
I just want to take this opportunity just to say that, you know, if you haven't seen these things, there are YouTube videos, like sort of fan cam type videos of both of these things. What we'll do is, if you haven't seen them, we'll link them up in the show notes for this podcast, so that if you're listening to this and you're going, oh god, I need to see this, go and have a look at it. It's pretty hardcore.
Well, you can watch the DVD of Luke Kujidar as well for the balcony dive. That's available at feastfemales.co.uk.
Yes.
Yep.
I want to ask you, though, something you mentioned in passing earlier, and it's something I don't think I've ever really asked a wrestler before, but you were saying about how after that power bomb into the wall that you had to take some time off work and so on. What sort of a phone call was that to make on Monday morning? I'm sorry, I can't come into work. I was power bombed onto a wall, and my my leg is killing me. I mean, is your employer are they happy with you wrestling? They understand that there could be.
No, they weren't happy at all. No.
Okay.
They were for a while, but with the month in Japan and other days off and times off for wrestling. I wanted to go part-time, but they didn't really have that space available. Mm-hmm. So we've agreed at the moment that I'm not working for them, but there's always a place open for me. They said if there comes a time that I want to go back. So They've been okay that way, and I'd rather take the time just now to focus on my wrestling. So that's good that they've done that, but I do think they were getting a bit annoyed that it was, I need this day off and that day off. I was always telling them in advance, but...
Sure, but when you call up on a Monday morning and say, listen, I injured myself, I might be off for some considerable time, I can't feel my leg.
I sort of nearly died.
How does that go down?
They obviously understand, they knew that I'd go to maybe 2 wrestling shows in a weekend, and I would still go to work in the Monday morning. Sometimes I used to go into the office and they'd be like, oh my God, look at your arms. And my elbows would be cut open, my arms were all bruised and things like that. But they still knew that I'd get up in the Monday morning and go unless it was bad.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes when I went in a Monday morning, I used to help old people out of bed. My back would be killing me from wrestling at the weekend, and I'm thinking, I'm not probably just as sore as you, but I'm sore as well. But you just need to get on with it.
Someone needed to help you out of bed that morning.
Yeah, but no, I was quite lucky. I got the same area in my job. So I was in the same street essentially every day. So it was the same people I seen every day for maybe 3 years. And you get to know them all well. So I'd go in the Monday morning, and although I was feeling sore, I'd help them up, and they'd be like, how did you get on at the weekend? Did you win? Was it good? Did you have fun and all that? And it kind of made it worth it. I could tell them some stories, not all the stories. But there was some of them that I just loved getting into. I could spend hours with them just talking to them, and they would get it. Some of them got the wrestling and realised that what I'd done can take its toll and stuff like that, and they were so lovely.
I mean, this
Sorry,
is all...
that was my boyfriend there. He's playing with his phone.
Oh, right. I mean, this is all very surprising when you consider that we're talking to somebody who, if other interviews that we read are to be believed, started training for wrestling without ever having watched wrestling before.
Yeah, it was my boyfriend that I'm sitting with just now. When we were about 15, I actually started going to his shows and watching them. And then I went along to training one day and watched it. And I think he suggested it as a way to keep fit, to be honest, to start with. I was like, right, okay. And I'd done one training session. I was like, right, that was me, show me wrestling. I watched some wrestling, and that was it. That's been it since. So it's just something in me stuck.
So you look at it and thought, falling down from purpose. That's something I want to try.
That's something I could do. I might be able to do that well.
Lordy. So, I mean, let's talk about your sort of your initial training then. Is it PBW Academy? Is that where you got your initial training then, or is that correct?
It was, yeah. I started out in another company, but we didn't really get along, so I moved on to a different school, which was PBW Academy. Now I help the trainer, Ross Watson Kid Fight. I help him out at some of the training sessions and things as an assistant trainer, and it's quite good because I think it takes me back to the basics as well. If I'm showing someone how to do a back bump or a front bump, it means I'm constantly thinking about my own. So I don't mind helping out with wee things like that. And then if there's a special seminar or something like that going on, it's good because I can take part in things like that as well. So
I mean, I do think about some of the training that you would have taken and bumping at the start. I mean, let's not lie, you're quite slight, and
yeah.
those bumps must just rattle straight through you.
I think at first they did. I can remember going into training and watching everybody like commit themselves to the bump, throwing themselves down and then selling. But then when I went up, I was like, oh, I can't do that. I'll just look silly if I do that. And it took me a while to snap out of the shyness. And then once I snapped out of that, I had a fear of lifting my foot when I was bumping. So my right foot, for instance, would always stay in the ground. And eventually I started like almost going over on it when I was bumping, so landing on top of my own foot. And I hurt my ankle one day doing it. And it was at that point I just went, you know what, I'm safer throwing myself into it than I am just trying to half do it. Because when I'm trying to half do it, that's when I'm hurting myself. And then as soon as I realised that, that's when everything clicked, really. Kind of realised, like, you just need to commit to everything and you'll be able to do it safely. If you doubt yourself or if you doubt the person you're wrestling with or training with, then that's when things are going to go wrong.
Well, that's a motto you've stuck by for your whole career.
Yeah. If I don't trust someone working with them, then I'll know what to do, if that makes sense. If I know someone's prone to dropping people on their head, I'm not going to be taking stuff where they can drop me on my head. So, and I think a lot of the girls and the guys will agree with me on that, because it's your career that's on the line, so you do have to trust the other person just as much as you trust yourself.
And I guess a lot of trust will probably come in because of the fact that you do quite a lot of high flying stuff. So you are, when you're leaving your feet, you are at the mercy of gravity wherever you're landing as well. I mean, has the high flying thing something that you always thought about doing? Was that the path you always wanted to go down?
Well, like, to start with, I think it was just kind of thrown at me. It was like, you can fly, you can do bendy stuff and all that kind of stuff, so that's what you do. And it's only recently that I've kind of went back to, like, to be honest, like, just simple submissions and technical stuff, because I bypassed all that. I get shoved the other way and didn't really get a chance to pick up on a lot of that. So now is when I want to be able to, like, pick up on some of that. I've been watching more stuff that might encourage me to, like, do more and things like that, and coming up with my own ideas and stuff. So hopefully that's something that I can start bringing into it.
What are you watching?
That's a secret. I can't tell you.
Oh.
Because then if you spot it, you'll be like, that's because she watched that. So I'm not telling you. I know I do watch a variety of stuff. My boyfriend's, like, I'm not as clued up as him, but he's collections everywhere. So it's just different DVDs every night, just watching stuff that will help us improve.
I want to see some Johnny Saint moves next time. That would be awesome.
I've actually done a Johnny Saint seminar before.
Ah, there you go.
That was very fun. That was fun, but he's a good laugh. He is.
I can't think of two people more opposed on the wrestling scale than you and Johnny Saint. Like, he never leaves his feet, and you're flying all over the place.
I watched his match that he had when he was up here after the training seminar, and the only bump in the match was it a scoop slam? Yeah, a scoop slam.
And that was probably for the pin as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Amazing.
I was so impressed. I was honestly so impressed. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And the crowds loved it.
Of course
Like,
they
they loved it as much as any other match, and that kind of helped me realise a bit about wrestling as well. Like, it's not how much you can shove down a crowd's face, it's how you play it out. Sure. It's how you put it together and show it to them, pretty much. So,
does this mean in the future then you may ration the high-flying stuff and may sort of bring it out more on the special occasions?
Well, not really. I'd still like to mix it up a bit. I would still like to mix it up. I do like my style. It was the same when I went to Japan. Everybody went, "Oh, you've not come back all Japanese." Pretty much that's what they said, because most people do come back and they've got a very Japanese style about them, about the way they do everything. But I'd like to think I did pick up a lot of things in Japan and just incorporated it into my own style, and again helped me improve, rather than just coming back a copycat of what's over there. So, as I said, yeah, I think that helped me a lot as well.
Now, we've talked in the past to people like Nikki Storm and other people from Scotland about the sort of the Scottish scene up there, and how incredibly you've managed, and I say you just as far as Scotland is concerned, as far as the country is concerned, you've managed to produce like all of these female wrestlers, and how they're pretty much all different as well. They've all got their own styles, they've all got their own personalities and so on. Who was around when you started then? Were you training with guys when you started, or were there other girls you're training as well?
I was training with Nikki Storm and Viper, and I think Kirsty Love got introduced to that group just before I left. So the other ones I started with, but when I moved over to PBW, it was maybe like one other girl that was there, Shelley Starr. She's still, like, hopefully she will go on to shows soon. Like, she's getting better and better as the years are going on, so hopefully she'll get to that level soon. But I did wrestle more guys when I went to PBW, and I just thought it opened up a lot of variety for matches. Like, rather than just doing a girls' match, we could do different types of matches, like big guy, small guy matches, and it wasn't just necessarily a match because I was a girl. We got to do other things,
matches and stuff as well.
Yeah. And I enjoyed every one of them. So, and I think that's how I'm quite close with a lot of the, like, my boyfriend and myself. We've got a good group of friends, we do, and I think that, like, they all respect him in a wrestling sense. Like, for instance, I was on the camps recently, and I'm used to locker rooms full of guys and things. Like, I'll stick a towel around me and slightly get changed, and without anybody seeing anything. But I've done that in the camps, and Stevie's tag team partner, Davey Blaze, was like, "Whoa, Kaylee, no, you can't be doing that in here." And I was like, "But I'm covered. What's wrong?" And he's like, "No, you're Stevie's. You need to go. You need to get out," and flung me out the room. I was like, "All right, okay." But I think, again, that's just because they've got so much respect for him. So, but I've lost the point of the question here, so I'm way off.
That's all right. Let's bring it back. I mean, we'll come back to talk about Scotland in general and fierce females in general again as we sort of bring it back towards the end again. But I'd like to talk about a bit of Pro Wrestling Eve stuff now, and that's kind of, I think, where a lot of people in England and again, I think even worldwide as well through iPPV and stuff, got to see you for the first time. You and again a whole bunch of the Scottish girls all came down, and you sort of immediately hit it off with the fans and had quite a good connection there. What were your experiences in Pro Wrestling Eve like when you first came down?
They were always fun. They were always fun. There was always drama going on, and Eve's Eve, and I love the place. I love the company. I love Dan, and I love working for them. But I can just describe it as fun. That's it. There's so many stories and other things I could tell that I won't on this, but I'm sure some people know some already. But, like, talent-wise, I just thought Eve was amazing. There was always such a variety, and he always tried his best to just put on the best show there was, and that's all you want for a promoter. So, yeah. I
want to take a particular chance just to talk about the Eve versus Ice Ribbon weekend. And I think that was again a big opportunity for you. Again, it was the first time you'd have got to work at Japanese opponent as well. I mean, how was that? Was that good? Did you have language issues or anything like that putting those matches together?
Yeah, I think it was Hikaru Shida I had in the singles match, and it was myself, Erin Angel, and I'll try and say this, Tsusaka Fujimoto.
Tsukasa.
And that's it. I can't say that properly. I think it's my accent. So, but the three-way, it was really quick. Like, as you said about the language barriers, there was a few, but luckily me and Erin had actually watched the same match of Fujimoto's. So if I was trying to describe something that I'd seen and she wasn't quite getting it, Erin could jump in and describe it as well. And it eventually all clicked together, but because of that, we didn't get to do as much as what we wanted to in it. So it ended up really, really quick. And I just wish we'd had a bit more time to kind of plan it out and not necessarily throw more spots into it or anything like that, but just tell a better story. Because it just seemed as if, as I said, it went all so fast. But I think that's kind of what you wanted from the match, was just action all the time. But I think we could have done it in a... But I think we could have done it in a better way, that it was a bit more action and a bit longer time. So
Did you prefer the match against Shida then?
I loved that match as well, but I think they were both in the same. As I said, if I'd done the three-way a little bit longer, that would have definitely been my favourite. But the match with Hikaru Shida, there was a bit more language problems, so I felt a little bit more uneasy in that match because I wasn't sure about a few things and my head was a bit all over the place going into it. So I can't remember what one I done first, but that
you did
was
the Shida one first. That was on the matinee show on the Sunday.
Was it that one? But I think because I had Erin in the three-way, and if anything had went wrong, I could have just said to her quick, what's happening here? Sure. And we could have got it. But whereas in the singles match, it was kind of just, right, go for it. And I do remember in the singles match, there was a moment where it could have went really wrong. And luckily enough, I think it was Shida that actually fixed it and managed to keep it flowing and keep it going and stuff like that. So, but I felt very thrown into that. Those matches, I honestly didn't feel as if I was at a level where I should have been in those matches at that point. But again, just thought, right, step up to it, go and do what you need to do and try and impress. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the things I wanted to kind of go on to. I mean, you ended up, having a chance to go over to Japan, and you ended up even doing a challenge for the JWP title in England for Eve against Emi Sakura. But when you were doing those Eve versus Ice Ribbon matches, did you have aspirations at that point of going to wrestle in Japan one day? Did you kind of see this as an opportunity for you to impress?
I had always seen it as something I'd like to do, and I did see that as a way of maybe these girls in the future, maybe in a few years' time, if somebody says my name, they'll go, oh, I wrestled her, she done well, and on the hopefulness that I'd done well. But at that point, I didn't think that would have been a thing. He's taken me to Japan. I still thought I was too green for that. It would have been too early to go. But especially if it was the same way that I did go over, because although I went over to train with them, I also was booked in a lot of their shows. Whereas at that point, had it just been going over to train, I'd have felt easier doing that.
Sure. Because
then I've known there was not really any pressure and things like that. But again, I was a lot younger then, and I don't know how I would have felt about going halfway across the world. But as I said, I'm glad I went when I went, though, because I do feel as if I got a lot out of it. I already knew a bit in my mind, so going over there just kind of helped me adapt my style a little bit more.
I don't know whether you know this or not, and it's not something that we've ever talked about publicly to anyone else before either, but before the show we were talking to somebody who was involved in it, and they were saying that, the people from Ice Ribbon, they kind of handpicked the people that they wanted to have matches against, the people that they were interested in fighting, and you were one of the people who was kind of on their list of people that they really wanted to work with. Did you know that at the time?
No, I didn't actually know that at all. So that's really nice.
So even then, if you didn't think you were at that level, they saw something in you back then that they knew that they wanted to and could work with. So I guess eventually that all came to fruition.
Mm-hmm. I would love to go over and work for Ice Ribbon. That would be nice to go and do that, seeing as I worked with them when I was so young. So to go over and train with them and to work with them would be excellent if I'd get a chance to do that.
Speaking of Eve, one thing that you weren't very good at early in your Eve career was coming out on the winning end of matches.
Yeah.
You tended to lose pretty much most of your matches, and then all of a sudden that all turned around for you and you started winning matches. And I want to talk about the Queen of the Ring tournament in 2012, last year I guess it was. And it
right.
was, I think it was the first iPPV, wasn't it, Lee?
Yeah, it was No Man's Land. Yeah.
Yeah, and
is that? No, it wasn't Preston. No, that wasn't. That was in.
That was in Sudbury. Yeah.
Sudbury, yeah. And it was an 8-woman tournament, and I remember you took a German suplex in the semi-final against April Davids, and then came out and had your match with Nikki Storm in the final. But I mean, I think at the time, am I right to say you were concussed after that?
Yeah, it's actually.
Do you remember any of this? Is this all news to you?
It's a confusing one, that one, because I'll tell you the truth in it now. It was always planned that I would have an injury in the second match for some reason. I think every promoter, just even though I'm already the underdog, likes to kick me down that wee bit more.
Right.
So I'm always getting jumped. I'm always getting injured in some way to make it that bit more of a story. So it was always meant to be that I would come out the ring at some point during the match with April, and there would be an injury, and I would carry on. But in the match with Carmel, we would normally do a spot with a German suplex ending it, but we couldn't use it because Dan wanted it in the match with April, and fair enough, it was April's finisher, so that made sense. But we got a suggestion to change the German into, I think it was a dragon suplex. And me and Carmel kind of ran it once, didn't bump from it, meant, right, timing was good, we'll go with that. And then in the match, the timing wasn't good. It was me, I didn't jump properly for it, and I just came down on my head. And it was the point in the first match when I got the concussion. It was after that match, I was round the back, I was being sick, and that was it, really.
So you had two matches that night with a concussion?
Yeah, So luckily enough, we managed to. The second match wasn't as much of a match with April because of the story that was in it. So, and me and April said after the match we'd need to get a full-on singles at one point. So, because I think every match had been in with her before that had been cut short, or something had happened during that we didn't get a full match out of it. So, but as I said with this, it was the two matches after I had to do.
So that injury was technically art imitates life imitates art.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right.
Do you remember much about the finals?
I actually can't remember the full match, but I do remember bits of it. I think it's just from it being a little while ago and being a bit dizzy during it. But Dan didn't know about that until I'd finished the final. And it was actually, I was being sick, and he spotted me and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Nothing, I'm okay." Just trying to pretend I was okay. And he just looked at me and went, "No, get inside." So, all right. So that's when Dan turns. If he sees someone injured or someone needs his help, that's when he turns and becomes he becomes a nurse, tries to fix you and all that. So, and he warned me to go to the doctors on the Monday morning or he would book me again. So we trip to the doctors for me. But
well, let's talk about injuries just for a moment, because you've had one or two.
Yeah, just one or two.
Wait, the No Man's Land 2 show from earlier on this year in Preston, you had a... Let me get this right. Did you suffer a broken bone in your foot during the show the day before? Is that right? I can't remember which order it was.
No, it was... It's been a long-running thing, actually. I had it while I was at Japan as well. It was just a pain in my foot I had, and it was constant. But I wouldn't go to the hospital before Japan because I'm scared in case they said, you can't do it. You can't go. So I just ignored it and went. And at one time when I was over in Japan, it got really bad and it all bruised up. But again, I ignored it and got on with it. And then come back here and done a few matches. And it was a match in Preston, I think it was. I think it was the match for PCW that I came back. And I basically couldn't put any pressure on it. I think I banged it off something during the match. And not only was it that, but I broke my baby toe at the same time.
Your toe, that was the one I was thinking of.
It was my baby toe, but that one didn't really bother me as much. It was really the foot that was worrying me. So it was after that weekend I did eventually go to the hospital. I thought, well, I've got a few shows booked and lined up, but I can face going just now. So I went up, and that's when they took the x-ray, and I'd fractured the 4th metatarsal in my foot. So that's like the bone running between your shin and like your toe, basically. That's fractured, and I broke my baby toe.
Ooh,
so, and if you ask Carmel, she'll just slag me for that. But because I think I always just try to ignore the pain of the foot, so I focused more on the baby toe. I used that to like kind of vent my frustration out. So she just gets sick of hearing about that. But yeah, it is at the moment. It's okay. So I can walk and all that. I can do matches and stuff. It still hurts and things like that, but there's nothing really they can do for it that's going to make it heal faster. So unless I just stopped completely for a while, but it's for now, it's at a point where I can still go on with it. So I'll just carry on and hope that eventually it just heals up completely.
Your pain barrier's quite high, isn't it?
I'd say so, yeah. Like, without sounding big-headed, yeah, I do think I've got a very high pain threshold.
Yeah, I was thinking about this just when you were talking about pain, and I kind of remembered that, you tattoo not only other people, but you also tattoo yourself.
Yeah, most of the tattoos I've done myself. So actually,
who does that?
I prefer doing it. It's not as sore doing it on yourself. No, I have got a tattoo. I say
that somebody has no tattoos, but I mean, still.
I've got a tattoo on my wrist that someone else done for me. And to be honest, when I was getting that, I was screaming because I think it was just because I wasn't in control of it. I couldn't control when the pain started and the pain stopped. So it put me in a bad mood and it just made it 10 times sorer. Whereas when I've been doing my own tattoos, I just go at my own pace and do it as I like. If it gets a wee bit sore, I stop for a second and go again. But you can't do that when somebody else is tattooing you. I think I called her every name under the sun. But it's luckily enough she was my friend, so
well, that's nice.
I got to be with it. So
Indeed. So you talked about Japan there, and it's probably a good opportunity to talk about that. I mean, how long did you go over to Japan for? This was at the end of 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think what day I left. Was it December 17th or was it before that? Yeah, December 17th to January 17th. So it was a full month I was away for. But it was absolutely brilliant. It was amazing.
Christmas in Japan as well. How was that?
Yeah. Well, I was a bit lonely in Christmas because Christmas has always been a really big family thing for me.
Sure.
And then after I've done the family thing, it turns into a friends thing. And I go out with all my friends and I spend a full day with my family. And then round about 8, 9 o'clock, the family splits and we all go and go to my friends' houses and stuff. So, but Japan don't really celebrate it. So it was very lonely. I spent Christmas in my room pretty much. So, but they more celebrate New Year than Christmas, I believe. So they were throwing big parties at New Year. So I thought I'll look forward to that. And that kind of got me through a wee bit. But for the 3 days over New Year, so it would have been, like, is it 30th, 31st? 30th, 31st, and 1st. I was in a hotel. I wasn't staying at the dojo flats. They basically close over the New Year so that their trainees and that can go and visit their families. So I was put in a hotel, and the first day I arrived at the hotel, I was ill. And for the next 4 days, I was ill.
Oh. Just
constantly being sick, so I missed New Year. I believe I was meant to meet up with Kelly Skater.
Mm-hmm.
I was meant to meet up with her. Couldn't do it because I was just so bad, and I just spent literally 4 days in my bed. I was absolutely gutted, but I did get to go to the JWP. It's like their New Year's night that they did before I went to the hotel, and it was karaoke and everything. I'm absolutely terrible at singing, and even though it was a different language, I'm pretty sure they all could tell. Like, every time I went up, you could just see them putting their heads down, to the point I went, right, I need to stop. But it was me and one of the head trainers, Leon.
Yes.
She's one of the wrestlers as well. It's just me and her up constantly on the karaoke singing.
What were you singing?
What kind of stuff we were singing, like Jude Law and all that? It was any song that we could find that we both kind of knew we'd put on. So it was just an absolute laugh. And you had all the girls there that I trained with and had been working with over the past couple of weeks. So it was really good fun. Everybody kind of was relaxed, and as I said, we got to have fun. So we done games of, if I believe it was rock, paper, scissors, but it was to win, like just say your next drink at the bar.
Right.
And it was a full room that was doing it, and everybody was cheating and standing back up. And I know it sounds dead silly, but it was just being in that environment where, like, you weren't used to seeing any of this group like that.
Uh-huh.
Just to, like, kind of let loose and just go for it and have fun. It was just amazing.
No.
I kind of felt accepted a little bit, that they were showing me that side of them. It wasn't just a professional, like, workers and stuff. They were actually enjoying themselves and getting out and having fun, not only like with themselves but with me as well. So
now, we've already talked about the fact that you're a slight girl. There's not a lot of you, but you are also Scottish, so you're, inbuilt bred for drinking. Did you win the drinking games? I need to know. Did you defend the honour of Bonnie Scotland?
Oh, of course I did. I've done it all over. Really? But yeah, no, I think there was a time in Denmark that actually I believe I got really drunk. Carmel had to put me in my bed. Just took me in and laid me down and covered me up and stuff. But it was because we were at the bar and everybody heard my accent and went, Scottish whiskey. And I couldn't say no. I had to drink it. I couldn't be Scottish, and they offered me a drink, and I couldn't drink it. So every time I just went for it, and then just all of a sudden I went, Carmel, I need to go. And that was me. She just took me home, put me in my bed. So, but yeah, I tried to impress, but I think that one got the better of me that night.
Fair enough. I'm glad you at least did your part for international relations, though. You mentioned it earlier there, Leon, and I wanted just to ask you one of the matches that you had when you were out there. I'm a particular fan of everybody in this match. It was you and her against Dash Chizako and Sendai Sachiko.
That was amazing.
Tell me about that match, because those two, Dash and Sendai, are like just grease lightning. They're so fast and they're so small as well.
No, their work's just like, it almost seems effortless. I'm not saying that right. I'm not going to be able to say that right, but you know what I mean. Effortless.
That's perfect. You said that effortlessly.
I had to slow that down there. But yeah, they're that, and they're just so smooth in the ring. It's just when they're doing things, it doesn't even seem as if they need to try. It's just amazing. Just to see, even just standing on the apron, watching them run their spots with Leon and things, it was just amazing to be in that situation and be working with them. So I did have to give up my beds at the dojo for the nights that they were staying, but I'll accept that as long as I got to work them. So
fair enough. I mean, to me, that was the one match of all the ones that you had when you were over there when I was following the tour. That was the one where I thought, that's a match. That's a match I want to see.
I do have footage of it, but sadly, like, a lot of it's cut. I did actually feel quite heartbroken when I seen it. I thought they've cut all the bits out. They didn't really like it, but apparently they do that with like a lot of matches.
Yeah.
They'll just cut random bits out of it, and I was like, oh, right, that's why.
It's just for brevity, isn't it? Just to make it fit into the broadcast.
Yeah, that's it. So, but I was kind of gutted that I've never got all the footage, but I have a bit of it, so I'm kind of glad to have that.
Any chance that you might be able to return there someday? Is it something you've actively sort of looked at or sought?
Well, I did love the experience and I would happily go back, but right now that's not really my focus. I do have other things in mind that I'd like to do. Something I tried to plan for October and it didn't really pan out. But I've got a lot of work over here during October month, so it was kind of 6.5 really what I done. So I did just decide to do the October run. I'm doing a run for All-Star. That's do you know about All-Star?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course you know about All-Star. But I'll be doing a run for them in October. So I think that's kind of good. We'll say that, to say the least. But I'm actually really excited to do that because going from, like, I worked in the camps for the full summer with the core team doing the Scotland run, but I was only helping out with the merchandise. So it was great to go along and meet everybody and interact and do the run with the boys and stuff like that. But sitting in that merchandise table every day watching them wrestle, it was through gritted teeth. I was just so eager to go and do it. And now that Brian's said that he wants me for that run, like, I'm really glad because it's kind of a chance to go and prove myself almost. Like, I know he's not high on female workers, so if I can go down and impress, then hopefully that leads to another step somewhere.
Do you know who we'll be working against?
No, if I knew I would tell you, but he's not said anybody yet, so I'm kind of anxious about who it's going to be. But we'll find out, and hopefully we'll have a good match. Good matches.
Good matches, yeah, okay. I mean, you've been quite lucky to have a bunch of, like, you know, really high-profile matches and big opportunities around Scotland and in England and so on. I mean, you've been in tag team match with Mickie James. You've had a match with Angelina Love at PCW as well. How have you sort of how have your experiences been working with those people who've been at the top, who've been on, you know, international TV? Have you found them to be helpful for you? Have you found them to be approachable?
A few of them, yeah. Like, Mickie James has always been somebody I admired. Like, I think every girl in wrestling says that, but she was, like, watching her work, she's another one that seems just so smooth. And working her was great because it was a singles match to start with me and Mickie. Mm-hmm. And then during the match, Carmel and Nikki came out and it turned to the tag team match. So it was great that I got a chance to work on a singles and tag with her. And again, she was really helpful and, like, anything we suggested, she was like, yeah, cool, like, how about we do this as well? And, like, coming up with other ideas, whereas some of the other people I've worked, I've just kind of been like, I don't really want to do much. Like, sure. I'm just here, like, without mentioning any names, but, like, basically not just refusing to do stuff because they can. Oh. So that's that. But as I said, like, you do get your good with your bads, and Mickie herself, like, I'm using her because she was someone that was extremely nice. I wasn't really sure how she'd be. Like, I actually remember having a cigarette around the back and hearing her coming and trying to hide it. And then when she came out, realising that she was okay with it and she was fine, she was talking away and things like that. So I was like, oh, it's actually okay. But I just, as I said, it's good with the bad. You do get some that are just not willing to give you anything, that would rather sit with themselves and listen to music or not give you feedback and anything like that at the end of a match, because at the end of the day they have done a lot more than me and I'd appreciate any feedback that any of them were willing to give me. But as I said, some people just don't want to do that and others do. So
one person that you never, I mean, I would imagine you've never had a bad experience with as far as not wanting to work with would be Carmel. I mean, you've talked about her a few times during the show already, and I mean, for people who don't know and haven't sort of seen your history or seen any of your matches with each other, you two have basically knocked 7 shades of shit out of each other up and down the country for quite some time in the name in the name of professional wrestling. I mean, is Carmel your perfect opponent?
I'd say yes, because like I think just any kind of match that we're in, we'll know how to do it with each other. We'll always have something that we can do. We can pull out the bag. But even when it's the same match, we can still pull something else at the bag. But she's like a person wrestling who I'd say I completely trust. There's nothing about her that I don't trust. I'd be willing to let her do anything to me in a wrestling ring, because I know if she felt it was unsafe to do it, she wouldn't be doing it.
Sure.
And you have done a lot of things. I mean,
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm looking back here, and there was, if we go back to ICW, which is almost bringing us full circle, but you two were involved in a death match in 2011, which was a first women's death match. And I mean, I've watched the footage of that, and that's 6 stars crazy.
I think as well that was because that was, funnily enough, that was a feud coming to an end. That was it finishing. That's what they told us. Like, this death match, this is your final match, right? So, like, we were like that. We'll give it our all. We'll go out there and we'll give everything we've got. Blah 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 blah. And then every match we had after that was, this is your last match. No, this is your last match, and it's just kept going. There's not been any end to it, but there was the thing that's happened at ICW recently might have ended it for a while in ICW, but we'll see what happens. It seems to always come back upon us, so
we'll come.
Not that I'm complaining about that, because
no.
I'm not working up. But sometimes you just go, like, you say to people like, "Oh, I'm wrestling at the weekend," and they'll go, "Who have you got?" And I just need to look at them, and they'll go, "Carmel." I'm like, "Yeah, Carmel," because it just happens that often. People are just used to it. But I still think that people that have seen more matches 100 times would still enjoy a match that we put on, or I hope they would anyway. But
Lee, the match you're talking about, is that the one that ended up on TV?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because that was through ICW's TV deal for a while with my channel on Sky.
Yes,
Did you get people coming up to you in the street? Because obviously with the red hair, you're fairly noticeable. Did you get people coming up to you in the street and go, "I just seen you on TV," like people you've never met before?
A couple of people actually. I think Carmel's actually got a better story that our friends from like high school or college were just sitting flicking through the channels, and they seen wrestling. They went, "Oh, we'll put it on to see if Carmel's on." And as soon as they turned the channel, it was Carmel like tossing me down a set of stairs. So they ended up in her and be like, "I'm watching you on TV," things like that. But I did get a few people going like that. You were wrestling on the telly, weren't you? And I was like, "Aye, that was me." So, but I still got off shy when people, like, if I'm in a venue with the wrestling ring and it's the show's on, I'm fine. I'm full of charisma. I'll interact with the fans. But see, as soon as it's like me and my home life, like when I'm just doing my day-to-day stuff, I'll go off shy and bashful. I get dead embarrassed.
I have to say, just on that death match, I think even more sort of, oh my God kind of moments, even more so than the balcony dive at the last Fierce Female show, was the monkey flip down the stairs.
Yeah.
Because it's just this big crushing thud as you hit the floor. And I didn't know that such a small body could make such a huge noise.
I'm good at my bumps. That's all I'm going to say.
I was like, Jesus H. Christ.
It's funny because, see, most of the things that you'd look at and you'd go, "Oh my God, that was crazy." Whether it's like Carmel tossing me down a set of stairs or not, most of them are my ideas. I come up with them and go, "Would you want to do this?"
Why does that not shock me?
I know. And I think Carmel's response 9 out of 10 times is,
"Are you sure?
As long as you want to do it, that's fine. If you're okay with it, Kaylee, we can do it." But I think she knows now, because at first I think she was like, "No, we can't do that." And I'd just basically keep asking her, like, "No, come on, because we could do this and we could do this." And no, I'm like, "Please, please." And then eventually I think she'd give in and be like, "Right, but we'll need to do it this way," because like when I started wrestling Carmel on shows. Like my first big show was like a BCW show in like Kelvin Grand Hall. Is that right? Kelvin Grand Hall? Kilmarnock Grand Hall, that's it. Sorry. And it was against Carmel. And I wrote down the match at home what I wanted to do, and I think I've still got it somewhere. But I wrote that all down. I went into Carmel, and Carmel basically went, "It's good. We'll use a couple, but we can't deal with that." And I was like, "How no?" And she was like, "Because Kaylee, that'll take us about 45 minutes." So all right, okay. So she structured the match, and any ideas that she thought were good and we could do out of the ideas I had, she put into it. So essentially, Carmel started my career. Like, I've said that a lot of the time, like, you can train and train as much as you want. Like, you'll get your basics and all that in training, but you don't start developing and really getting crisp at your moves and your character and things like that until you're out wrestling in front of a crowd. And as I said, I started with Carmel, and that's still on the go. So for that first booking I had on an official show right through to now is when I've been wrestling her, so I do trust her an awful lot.
Yeah, your careers have just been, intertwined for so long. And I mean, I know we're talking to you rather than her now, but I want to tell everybody that's listening to this, if they haven't seen it or listened to it, there's a YouTube, again, it's a fan cam shot
of a promo. Wow.
Yeah, it's a cell phone sort of bit of footage as well. It's Carmel cutting this promo on pretty much all of the women in Scotland, and it's brilliant. It's one of the best promos I've seen in a long time, regardless of who you are or where you are in this business. It was really, really, really good, and you came out and ended up getting involved, and it seems to have put possibly a question mark or a full stop on the end of your feud for now. But again,
we'll see which one's which.
Well, we will, and hopefully we might even at the classic grand at Fierce Females. We'll see, but yeah, I mean, we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well for this. But for the people out there that listened to AJ's promo on Raw a few weeks ago and thought that was good, I mean, this is way up there as well. It's one of the best things I've ever seen Carmel do.
I stood backstage and didn't want to go out.
She was on a roll, wasn't she?
I had nothing really. I had nothing to disagree with, to be honest. She said all this stuff, and I was like, fair dues. And then about me, she was like, strip off the red hair and the t-shirt and all that, and I'm just the same girl she battered so many years ago. I'll not say exactly what she said, but again, I can't disagree with anything she said, but the story has to work some way, doesn't it? But yeah, that promo, I did think, oh my God, standing backstage listening to it, just like, I really didn't want to just go and interrupt her. I just wanted her to keep going. Just wanted to listen to what else she had to say.
She really did own that ring at that moment, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The way she delivered it as well. Like, I realised some of the fans started chanting during it, and she just, like, totally zoned them out and just kept going, kept running her point. And I think that, as well as what she said, just helped an awful lot, but it was brilliant.
It was top stuff, yeah. And, I mean, again, coming up at the Classic Grand, Carmel's going to be taking on Crazy Mary Dobson on that show as well. That's going to be a heck of a match.
Mm-hmm, I know.
Crazy Mary Dobson might be second only to you as far as crazy.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're both up there, certainly. I think
thank you. I think
that was a weird compliment, Stu.
It was a weird compliment.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I can imagine that Carmel may end up having a bunch of the same discussions with Mary Dobson as she's had with you over the years,
Yeah, so. Maybe. I think it's an incredible match. I will be watching that one.
Yes, and what else have we got on the show announced so far, Lee?
Portia Perez versus Nikki Storm is also on there.
Yes.
And we have a tag team match where half of the contestants have been announced. So we have Fiona Frazier and Kirsty Levine against an as yet unnamed team that James R. Kennedy's picking.
Yes.
Oh.
There you go. It's news to Katie.
I'm trying to think what's going to happen.
There's only one way to find out, and that's to buy a ticket to ICW Fierce Females at the Classic Grand, 22nd of September. Yeah. We will be in attendance. We will be there, and we will be bringing you coverage of it. But if you can possibly get to it, please do. I think we've said it before that the last ICW Fierce Females show was probably our show of the year so far, and
it was great.
It was great. We're getting ready to go into a big season of shows shows now, both domestically and internationally. So, if Fierce Females can come out on the end of this fight season, I suppose we should say, as the best show of this season, it's going to be going some. But it's got every opportunity to do so.
Nice one. Well, hopefully this show can be even better.
Well, fingers crossed. Before we go, let's just mention one thing, and I mean we've had him on the show here as well. But how important has Mikey Whiplash been to ICW and the females up in Scotland, just in general, as far as putting these shows together? Because he's really sort of got you all singing from the same hymn sheet and pulling in the same direction here.
I do think he's helped a lot of the girls, especially in training, develop their character. He trains with Nikki Storm and Kim and Bette Noir. So I think through his training, a lot of the girls have really, really developed. And then with that, the rest of us have tried to up a level as well. So I think there's been a standard set and everybody's reached that standard and we're going above and beyond. And I speak for every girl in Scotland right now. Mikey Whiplash has really gave us a platform to work from, and giving us that alone, I think has helped massively, because although we had our spots in ICW, we had our moments, there wasn't enough room for everybody. I think, being honest, there wasn't enough room for everybody. It was a mixed promotion, so you can't have 4 or 5 girls matches on the cards. It doesn't really work. So just to get our own separate show where everybody can show what they've got, I think he's done female wrestling in Scotland. I think he's done it wonders.
Awesome. Well, let's finish up then, Kelly. How can people get in touch with you? How can people follow what you're up to? What about social media, first of all?
Twitter, it's K_Lee_Ray, and then my Facebook is just Kaylee Ray. So if you send me a message on either, I'll get back to you.
There you go. And anything else you want to plug coming up other than All-Star Tour in October and obviously Fierce Females coming up later this month?
I've got a few. I've got this weekend. I've got Pro Wrestling Elite. I'm not sure what's happening there, but I've heard a few girls that are going to be there, so we'll see what happens. So I'd advise everybody to get a ticket for that. And in upcoming weeks and months, I've got a few wrestling dates, so I think it's a wee bit too many to mention all of them.
I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
You'll do it?
I'll do it right now.
You go.
Yeah, September 28th, Southside Wrestling Entertainment, Nottingham, England. Kaylee Ray challenges Martin Kirby for the Speed King title.
Wow, I want to see that.
That's coming up very, very, very soon. Also, Southside Wrestling Entertainment in Nottingham again on November 17th. It's Amazing Kong versus Kaylee Ray in a one-on-one. So that's going to be a little bit of a rematch from the Fierce Females event.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's all I can see right now. Sorry.
That's all you can see. I've got a few more dates, but I've not got my diary at hand. So,
fine.
But yeah, looking forward to them all.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, yes, as only you can do. Well, listen, thank you very much for giving us so much of your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.